Hiya and welcome to Learn Business with Jade, the channel where I share all of the lessons I've learned through trial and error while building my tall fashion brand, Rosanna London. Today I'll be talking about all things manufacturers. For those of you that don't know, my tall women's fashion brand, Rosanna London, is I use the private label model, i.e. I pay a manufacturer to make my designs and then I sell on the pieces. So this is different from made to order, i.e. me making the pieces, and different from wholesaling or drop shipping where someone else makes the pieces, and either with wholesaling you have the pieces in your warehouse and so on and so forth, or drop shipping where it goes directly from the manufacturer or the third party to your customer. Now, there are pros and cons to private label, which I'll discuss in a different video, but in this video I'll talk all about how to find a manufacturer and things you need to know before you start working with a manufacturer. So first, let's talk about how to find a manufacturer. To put it shortly, Google is your best friend. Google is where you're going to find these manufacturers. The key things to consider are location. Are you trying to manufacture in your home country, whether that's the UK like me or wherever you are around the world, or are you looking to manufacture abroad? Both of these have pros and cons, which I will speak about in a separate video, but just keep that in mind regarding pricing and kind of how easy it is to get samples and so on and so forth. Secondly, you need to consider the manufacturer specialties. It is very unlikely you're going to be able to go to one manufacturer or one factory to make all of your garments. For example, someone that's good at making lingerie might not have the expertise to also make denim. So just keep that in mind and try to see examples of the manufacturer's work beforehand to make sure that they're up to the quality that you want. And thirdly, you need to decide how much control or how many services you're going to get from the manufacturer. Is it going to be purely just them making the pieces, or are they going to do fabric sourcing? Are they also going to put in like the labels, the swing tags rather? Are they going to put it in the packaging and so on and so forth? So those are three things you need to consider when looking for a manufacturer. But this video, the main focus is going to be once you find the manufacturer, you've done all of this, and these are 5 things you need to consider. First of all, and very simply, is minimum order quantities. Minimum order quantity, as it says on the tin, is the minimum number that you need to order for the manufacturer or the factory to agree to process your order. Now, if you're a small brand, which I'm sure a lot of you are that's watching this, you want to go for the minimum, like the smallest number possible. Sometimes you can be lucky and it can be one piece, which is really great because you can test the market before kind of like splashing all your cash on stock. Some other places, a lot of places, can be in the hundreds of thousands. So you need to consider that, because you don't want to first of all waste money and then have dead stock, i.e. stock that you can't sell. A really important thing when looking at minimum quantities is to look at the total price and not get distracted by the price per item. So here's an example. Let's say you design a top that costs £15 each if you place an order of 100. That means in total you'll spend £1,500 on this top. However, to make the same top it costs £20 if you place an order of only 50. So that means in total you will spend £1,000. Now, if you're a really big brand and you know your customer and you know kind of customer behavior, you know that for definite this is like on brand and they're going to love this piece, then it will make sense for you to place a higher order to make some savings per item. However, as a brand new brand going into the market, it doesn't actually make sense to spend more money in total on stock, even though per item there's a saving. This is a massive mistake that I made when I first manufacturer, but I'll get into that in a bit. A second thing you need to know / consider when working manufacturers is reviews from previous clients. This is so important for 2 reasons. First of all, if a previous client has a bad review, this can tell you so many things regarding the quality, but also the customer service, how good your manufacturer is with kind of keeping to their deadlines and so on and so forth. And secondly, if a manufacturer is not willing to kind of at least show previous work, that tells you that this could be a scam. This definitely happened to me, and I did get scammed by my first manufacturer, and I really do wish that I'd asked for reviews, because he just kind of told me this, that he'd worked on tool collections in the past, and I just believed him instead of asking for reviews. That's one thing I would definitely recommend. Whereas both of my manufacturers now, so just FYI, I forgot to mention, in total I've worked with 3 manufacturers. I'm working with 2 manufacturers now, and it was due to the issues I had with the first one that's kind of taught me all these lessons, and I've implemented it with these 2 different manufacturers, and now I can like say with confidence, this is what I wish I knew the first time round and how this has helped me the second time round, if that makes sense. So a little caveat over, back to what I was saying. Reviews from previous clients are so important. For my 2 new manufacturers, one of them I got recommended by a lovely girl. She runs a fashion, a swimwear brand. She's young, she's black, she loves like good quality, and I thought, okay, cool. And then he did a couple samples for me and the quality was insane, so I'm so happy I got a review from her. Second one, I asked for reviews and he showed me his work. He linked me to his previous clients' websites and kind of looking at their customer reviews, and people are really happy and didn't seem to have any problems, and it seems like he's been working with quite a few of them for a number of years. So I was able to implement that with my 2 new manufacturers. So it's definitely important to get reviews, because as much as most people in the world, and I think most people in the fashion business, they tend to be good-hearted people, but there are some horrible people out there who just want to take your money and scam you as a small brand, and it's just trying to avoid it as much as you can by taking these steps into consideration. So it's very important to get reviews and to see your manufacturer's previous work. The third very important thing to consider is lead time, and as I said previously, how well or how effectively your manufacturer is at sticking with these lead times. So for those that don't know, a lead time very simply is just I wouldn't say fancy term, but just a term for how long it takes to be delivered, i.e. from when you pay either the deposit or whatever the payment terms until you receive the items. That's the lead time. A standard lead time could be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks depending on the intricacy of the design. 4 weeks is a kind of a good lead time, especially for either made to order pieces or like I do private label. 6 weeks is a bit long, but okay. 8 weeks, I'm not sure why it'd be 8 weeks. It tends to be 6 to 8 weeks for a sample. That's kind of one of the meals, especially you've got an intricate design, because make the pattern and so on and so forth. Once they've got the pattern or the grading, I don't know why it take longer than 4 to 6 weeks. If you have any other knowledge about that, feel free to comment down below if you think that I am incorrect, but I think 4 to 6 weeks for delivery is very normal. Now, the key thing to note again with the reviews is how well they stick to this lead time. Thirdly is certificates, certifications, so on and so forth. So this is more important if the manufacturer or the factory you're working with is abroad, and or you might struggle to come and see them in person. So for manufacturers in London, I'm speaking as a Londoner, they are so expensive, and that's down to a couple of things. First of all, London rent is so expensive, so when a manufacturer or factory is kind of in the price that they give you, have to include their costs such as rent, kind of bills, and paying their staff. And the key thing with paying their staff is the minimum, what's it called? What's that thing called? The minimum wage. I don't know, I had like a brain fart then. Minimum wage in the UK and the living wage in London. I'm gonna put the correct number here, but I want to say it's about £6 to £7, and that's the minimum per hour. Now, if you're in a niche market such as pattern making, such as kind of doing intricate sewing and so on and so forth, you're going to be paid more than that. But abroad, a lot of places, including the US, funnily enough, there isn't this minimum wage in a lot of, for example, in the US, in a lot of the states, they don't have minimum wage. Just here to quickly correct myself, this is Future Jade speaking. The US does have a federal minimum wage. As you can see here, it is $7.25. However, there are some exemptions. So some companies and some different types of work, for example, work that involves getting tipped, some of these people are exempt. And also if you're disabled, you don't have to pay the federal minimum wage and so on and so forth. I'm not an expert on it. This is just some light research. But what I know is that unlike the UK, whereas regardless of who you are, regarding the company or the employee, you have to pay the UK minimum wage, whereas that is not the case in the US. Whereas across the UK they do have minimum wage, and in kind of like the popular factories abroad, think kind of like Asia and kind of those kind of places, there isn't a minimum wage at all. So when working with factories abroad, it is so important to make sure you are seeing their certificates and certifications regarding kind of a healthy working condition, avoiding modern day slavery and so on and so forth. That is so important for two reasons. First of all, from a moral kind of from a moral standpoint, fashion is the biggest, I think is the biggest or second biggest contributor to environment kind of issues and to harming the environment. And also it's industry where across all kind of parts there's a lot of exploitation of people, particularly women and ethnic minority women. So morally, for me personally, I feel like it's really important to try our best to not contribute to this. And with, unfortunately with fashion, this can be anything from the fabric, you know, how cotton is made and so on and so forth, to manufacturing, and then also to kind of like distribution and so on and so forth. So you can try your best as a small brand to kind of not contribute to this. That's really important, and you can do that with manufacturers or factories that are abroad by asking for these kind of world standard certificates. I'll put a list in probably in the description below, the amount of the different certificates that factories can get. Also, secondly, from like a PR standpoint, it's really as a Gen Z person, I know just personally, I think it's really important to know where my clothes are made, how they're made, and so on and so forth. And I know that's very kind of synonymous amongst the younger market. The key market everyone wants, the 18 to 30 year olds. That's like the young millennials and the older Gen Zs. And it's really important to cater to your customer, not only kind of physically and emotionally, but also, again, actually more emotionally as well. People are really cautious and thinking about the whole kind of like ethics behind clothing, and it's good if you can kind of adhere to your customers' worries by trying to avoid kind of any problems. But as I think I like to say, and what I've learned is, if something is natural to you, kind of like if it's like in your morals and in your heart, you know, this is wrong, it should be easy to implement that as part of your brand image and a part of your brand ecosystem. But in case it's not, as a little tip, bad PR is not what you want to do, especially as a small brand. That can actually kill you. So kill your brand, not actually you, oh my gosh. But just kind of like keep that in mind, with especially with factories and manufacturers that are abroad. And last but not least, it's really important to try and find out what other services they can provide. As I said previously, they may be able to do kind of put your stuff into packaging, so when it arrives it's kind of ready to go. They could also do fabric sourcing for you, because let's say something, a simple fabric like a white cotton, something that is quite run of the mill, they might be able to get it, they might be able to get it for you at a cheaper price, because they might order like thousands of rolls versus you ordering like 30 meters or something like that. So find out what they can do and kind of like talk to them about that as well. They might also be able to do patterns. Not all factories will do patterns or grading, so they have to come with the patterns. They might be able to do samples, some of them might not be able to do samples. You have to go to somewhere else to get something sampled. What else they might be able to do? Might be able to do technical drawings, tech packs, and so on and so forth. So find out what they can do and figure out. So for example, you might end up paying more. That's because you get it as a bundle deal. So instead of you going to one place for a sample, one place for a pattern, one place for grading, so on and so forth, you might be able to go to one manufacturer that does everything for a slightly higher price. So just find out what works well for you. And also, for example, if you're working a full-time job, or you might be at uni or so on and so forth, how much time you have to dedicate to that, the little things. But really important is to always keep your eye on the ball and check off every single little thing. Even if one manufacturer is doing all of it, make sure you check every single thing, because this is your brand and your name on the line, not theirs. So yeah, that's it. I hope it's really useful. I hope that was kind of really insightful. I will say that I'm hoping that my really bad experience can kind of help you not go through the same thing. Also, feel free to DM me on Learn Business with Jade on Instagram if you want the name of my old manufacturer, because I don't really want to do like a smear campaign and like smear his name on the internet, but I do want people to actively avoid him, because I know he's still in operation, and despite the fact that what he did to me was fraudulent, according to the Citizen Advice Bureau. I've tried to go down the legal route. There's actually nothing you can do. It happens to a lot of people with manufacturers and in fashion. So if you want to know his name and kind of the company, and that he's rebranded himself now, feel free to DM me. I'll let you know on the low. But I don't really want this to be kind of like a gossip page or that kind of thing. But I am obviously willing to help small designers and so on and so forth. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you next time, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Bye.